Alright, welcome back Math 9. Today we are finishing up our lesson number 2, or chapter 2, if you will, of Unit 9, Statistics and Probability, which is about potential problems with collecting data, part 2. Let's do a little review. Throughout this presentation, if I remind you guys, I want you to put a pause button between the slides so that you can copy some of those questions down. So let's go with review example number 1. Eric loves ham. He wanted to know the favorite method of cooking ham, and he asked people in downtown Edmonton. His survey says, please circle your favorite method. I want you to identify any factors that we learned in the last class and how that factor can possibly used, unintendedly I guess, used to misrepresent this entire survey. In this case, you only have one survey question. I want you to pause it and then give it a shot right now. So this is a sharing time. What is the main problem? Actually, problem is a harsh one. What is the main factor that Eric didn't consider in his survey about favorite ham cooking method? Well, I like to point out cultural insensitivity category because first of all, you guys may know that not everybody eats ham. For example, Muslim advised to avoid any pork product. It's actually quite serious. And at the same time, Jewish people, I believe they do not eat pork either, or their cooking method of meat and dairy shouldn't combine together also. So long story short, cultural insensitivity was a factor that played a huge role in here. Let's do review example number 2. Again, pause this video, copy it first. Once you copy it, let's give it a shot. Rainey wanted to know how many males and females prefer pirate movies. He waited at the front of the Cineplex in West Edmonton Mall and did a survey. On the same day, the new Pirates of the Caribbean movie came out. So what will be the potential factor that could make this survey or statistic data after the survey invalid? When it comes to main factor that Rainey did not consider, in my opinion, is related to the timing. Inappropriate timing, I like to say. So the result will be pretty much biased because if you think about cinema situation, even though quite a lot of people, it has been ages since you saw the last movie in a theater probably, there are always some kind of advertisement. And that advertisement period is the one where, for example, a certain motion picture will come out, so preview situation, or something is already coming out. In Rainey's situation, he actually did a survey when there's a new motion picture that came out at the same time of his survey. So how would that lead to a problem? First of all, it's gonna make the result quite biased because if you think about it, every customer that come for the new motion picture probably is the one that's come for a pirate. So those are the one that they love pirate film. Because of this situation, maybe if he do even as a bar graph, there's a male and female, then what's gonna happen is, well, males that are probably go high value, and same thing will happen for female. If he's comparing these two, well, where's a valid comparison? Everybody love pirate when it comes to that situation. So the timing basically didn't play a good objective role in here. I'm gonna erase these guys. Oops, shouldn't erase that bias situation. Then what will be a good timing? Well, a good timing probably can be at least not during the time when there's a pirate movie. It will be somewhere maybe about a month or two later. And that situation would be probably better. If Rainey really want to find out the objective point of view, whether male or female, which one prefer pirate movies, something like that. And the question that I ask is, well, kind of related to my answer too. Would it be the same if the result was done when there's no pirate movie? Well, in that case, I like to say probably it's different a lot because the thing is we have more variety in terms of the number of participants and type of participants, something like that. And this is obvious. This is really asking whoever comes into a Chinese restaurant, you're doing survey, do you like Chinese food? And probably a lot of people will say yes, if you feel like most simplistic method. Same thing. Babies are us. You're doing survey, and you're basically asking, "Hey kids, do you like toys, Legos?" Kids will say yes. Those kind of thing. Probably parents will say no because it costs. Sometimes there are more than one factor that questions statistical results. So in this case, like I mentioned, some bias, pattern, and timing is the main problem. So let's focus on how can we eliminate potential problems, ladies and gentlemen. Let's think about a situation here. This is classroom practice / example. A survey is conducted to find out if citizens think the local government should provide more money for youth activities. The question then asks, would you support an increase in taxes? Would you support an increase in tax to create more skate park? First of all, I want you to identify what factor plays a huge role, and then I want you to write down your own one-sentence response or suggest what or how will you change so that the statement will be better or neutral. So for this example, I'm highlighting the part where things can be problematic. Would you portion is something that I will change. So if it's a factor, probably use of language. Because if you think about it, and I know this is more LA situation, if you always ask would you or should you, could you, those kind of starting sentence already suggest you something. Or another part that you can think of is, don't you agree? Or that kind of situation. So if I change this statement, maybe you can do something along this line, like it's more, what is your opinion on blah blah blah. So something like, what is your opinion on or about an increase in taxes to create more skate parks, something like that. So in this case, I am not suggesting would you support, because would you support already emphasizing the term support. So are you supporter or not? It already divide people in true and false situation. So let's avoid those kind of true false situation in here. If you put what is your opinion, or in that case you can elaborate more and then you can actually get more responses too. So in this case we are being more sensitive of using languages. This is another example. A survey is conducted to find out the level of school spirit. Students are polled about their level of school spirit after the soccer team wins the championship. I want you to copy it first. Same thing. Identify any factor that you can think it will misrepresent the whole survey, or what can guide to, or anything that questions the validity of this entire um, survey. Now it's a little bit of a sharing time. I'm gonna highlight, and obviously you can compare with mine too. Most of them are rhetoric situation. This is quite, how can I say, obvious one though, compared to the previous one. Um, Students are polled, and then where's the time? There you go. After the soccer team wins the championship, that become a problem. This is very similar example as I put at the second example. Rainy doing the survey right during the new Pirates of Caribbean motion picture come out, something like that. So the main problem is basically timing issue. Timing issue play a huge role. The reason being is, first thing first, the soccer team, school soccer team, just won the championship. And your goal is actually try to identify the level of the spirit. So the thing is, even before you do the uh, actual poll or survey, performance survey, you will notice that right after the championship, you kind of predict, you can predict the school spirit will go up and up. This is kind of like right after students win about, how can I say it? It's like students win against like our Holy Spirit Catholic School Flyer team versus whatever the others. Right after we win the game, when the parents and students are coming out, teachers asking or admins is asking, hey, do you like our Flyers? They will say yes. If we lose, they'll say no for some of them. I mean, there's some royal fan too, but that's the problem. The timing. So the appropriate timing, well, I like to say avoid big event. If you really want to identify or find out the objective point of view of your school spirit team. Sometimes analyzing the data collection can cause a problem. So in this case, let's look at an example. Again, write it down first and then pause the video. Once it's done, let me go through. Kublu and Ernik plan to open a shop in Saskatoon that will sell traditional Inuit crafts. Kublu knows that they would get the most accurate result if each household in Saskatoon is surveyed. So related to this issue, I want you to identify possible problems. In this example, I can already think of two possible problems, so you can write down the factors and then explain how that can cause potential problem. Now this is a sharing time. Let's go through. So I highlighted this portion. First of all, Kublu, it is true that accurate result will always come out if we survey every single population, let's put it that way. However, two potential problems that I can think of. One is something that is known as cost, if you think about it. First of all, you're doing every single household. So when it comes to that, you have a cost for survey paper. And if it's mailed, you gotta do some stamp, those kind of things, which is realistical problem that government workers have sometimes. Even if you think about agreement form for your field trip, yeah, it does cost too. And ink for the printing is not cheap, by the way. Another part that we can think of is, well, time. Let's put it this way. I believe this year is the one where every 5 years, Canadian federal government, technically, they do a consensus. It's about population survey, or sometimes age, sometimes it's go away detail, have you moved how many times within 5 years, those kind of things too. So it is done by the government, but that one goes to every single household. So imagine how long it takes. And this is a situation where you're doing survey of every single household in the big city called Saskatoon. So the time play a huge role. First of all, collecting time, analyzing the data time, easily it can go months. So realistic problem. To resolve this problem, what we do is, instead of each household, technically we can do what I like to call sampling. We can gather data from sample, and that will be discussed tomorrow, by the way. So tune up for that one. All right, one of our last example, if I recall. So sometimes overcoming potential problem happen in data collection. Antonia wants to find out if there's a relationship between household income and how much people spend on Christmas present. Like I said, pause this video, copy the question. I want you to find out any problem. I can find already 2 in here, and let's elaborate. So first thing first, let's go each of them. Household income. So there was a survey question that literally asking about your income. So that itself is no bueno. Privacy category. So we need to think about privacy factor in this case, because here's the thing. Generally, when it comes to a certain question like that, well, it's not always honest. Sometimes it's dishonest. Sometimes people put estimate. But you cannot entirely blame them, because the thing is, our question is directly asking about the privacy, which something that is along the line of 21st century. We really need to be careful of asking gender related question in our survey, because not a lot of people no longer go with male and female. You guys may know LGBTQ2 plus. We have a lot of those categories that define gender now. Gender is more spectrum at this case. So have that in your mind. Privacy plays a huge role in this situation. How can I avoid? Well, if I suggest something, maybe you can ask along the line of, it's more, have you exceed your monthly budget during Christmas, something like that. So in this case, first of all, it's more true and false situation. I'm not overly asking, and then to what extent, how much. I mean, there's some survey that ask you about that. Consensus ask you about the income level and so on too. In future, you do it as an 18-year-old or more as an adult. However, in this situation, you are interested in whether they're overly spending or not for the Christmas. So that's why maybe you can make it as a choice situation. Yes, I spend more, or no, I don't spend more, those kind of things. Next example that I can think of is Christmas itself. This is the one where I like to say number 2, culture / diversity. When it comes to Christmas, Christmas is for, it's Catholic religion. So when it comes to Hindi and Muslim, Buddhist, they don't believe necessarily on the significance of Christmas, or it may not be celebrated also. Therefore, when it comes to culture and diversity situation, maybe you can make question number 1 that before this, Ask about, do you celebrate Christmas as a first? If it's yes, then maybe we can elaborate questions afterward. Or when it comes to the next one, you should also gather some data by questioning in terms of, okay, if the person say no, then there should be another path that leads to next question and so on. So you will build some of those questionnaire as time go throughout this unit, just for the heads up. And that was my lesson, ladies and gentlemen. Your to-do list is doing question number 4, 5, 7, 8 from textbook page 435 of Math Makes Sense 9 textbook, and 9, 11, and 12 on the next page. If you have any question, please visit my Google Meet during our Math 9 time. Thank you.